Hello, Beatle people and vinyl community. How's everybody doing? So, I was just in Mean Mr. Mayo's live chat today about Paul McCartney. And, we get to some pretty cool topics here and there. And Joe was telling sort of a snippet of a story where he had an interaction with Paul McCartney in person, and it didn't go so great. And so that made me think maybe I should share my Paul McCartney story. And I do tend to tell this story on my tours at work when I give it, just because, it is a little embarrassing for me, because I don't like to think that, I'm that crazy person. But if you guys have watched my videos and you've seen me at the McCartney concerts the last month, I'm that crazy fan. And so a couple of years ago, I want to say this was back in 2015. Weirdly enough, I had just woken up from a dream that I had met Paul McCartney. I have these dreams every so often because, my subconscious really wants it to happen, so I'm putting it out there in the universe that I will really meet Paul McCartney. And so I turn over to my phone to see what time it is, and I have a text message from a friend of mine who, I went to middle school with and we've kept in touch over the years, that Paul McCartney is having brunch at my restaurant. I'm not supposed to tell anybody, but I'm telling you. And so I freak out, like any one of us would do. It's all I can think about. And so I ask her, what time is he supposed to show up to the restaurant? She says sometime around 1 o'clock. And I'm like, damn it, I'm supposed to be at work at 2. Now, I probably shouldn't be talking about this online, but I'll tell you what I did. Lord forgive me. But you would do this too out there. So I called every one of my coworkers seeing if they could take my shift for the day. And I even said, look, I'll come in the later half of the day. I just need the first half of my shift picked up. And everyone was saying no. And then one of my coworkers said, just tell them you have to go to the doctor. They can't tell you that you can't go to the doctor. So I call up work, and I think this was like another sign from God that this was supposed to happen, because none of my managers were actually on duty that day. We had a substitute, like one of the ladies from our sales department was filling in as management that day. And she said, oh, no problem. You get here when you get here. And you know what, just to say and, put this on the record, I was only about 20 minutes late for work. So this is okay. And so at the time, my wife was actually in culinary school, and she had class, and I knew that if I went and I did this by myself, probably would have ended up doing something stupid. Ooh. I don't know what's going on there. But I would have ended up doing something ridiculously stupid and probably would have gotten myself in trouble, and that's something that we do not want. So I convinced her to go with me. So the restaurant from my house is only about 20 or 30 minutes away, really not too far. It's only the next town over. And the reason that Paul was in town is because his stepson was graduating from college, and he went to a school in my area. So we knew that this was a family affair. My friend told me that there was a table reserved in his name for about 8 people. And we've all heard in interviews from Paul that he does not like to be disturbed when he's out with his family. It's just something that you don't do. And it's not something that I necessarily wanted to do, but if I'm gonna get 2 feet away from Paul McCartney, I gotta do it. I gotta at least try. Because the ultimate goal, my number one thing, if Lord, you are listening, the only thing I want more than anything in this world, other than a trip to Liverpool, is to get Paul to sign my left wrist, because I'm left-handed just like he is, and to get it tattooed so that I can have it on me forever. That's all I want. As you can see, no tattoos, but we'll get to that. So my wife and I get to the restaurant, and it is completely packed. And not because, people knew that Paul McCartney was coming. No one knew. It's just a very popular place to go and have brunch. And the restaurant's very small, and it's, very, long and short, width-wise. It's not very large that way. My God. Anyway, so he had a table straight in the back, his own little private area, and it happened to be next to the restrooms. And so my wife and I get there, I want to say around noon, to kind of play off that we are dining guests, and like I said, the place was packed, but it had a few bar stools up at the very front. So you would walk in the restaurant, to the left would be the host stand, and the right was this little bar with, I think, that had 5 stools. So we asked if we could eat there. We sat right up there and proceeded to have a little breakfast. So 1 o'clock rolls around and he hasn't shown up yet, so we're kind of just waiting. I'm nervous as hell. I have a Sharpie marker in my pocket just in case. It's I'd seen him in concert, before this happened, but I never, in my wildest dreams, think that I could literally be right close, smack up to McCartney. And around 1:30, 2 giant black Cadillac Escalades pull up to the building, and guys, there he was. It was that scene in Wayne's World where Dreamweaver plays? It was like that for me. I start to shake a little. I'm freaking out. And my fatal mistake was that I wasn't sitting at the end of the bar stools. My wife was down at the end, and then I was next to her. So I was literally 1 person away from Paul, and that, I should have been at the end. I could have gotten his attention. But the funny thing was, so Paul, starts waving at people. People notice that it's him. And he comes into the restaurant with a camcorder up to his face. And not just a small one, like a big one you would see from the 90s. And I'm thinking it's probably a tactic so that people can't get pictures of his face or anything like that, kind of keep him a little disguised. You have this huge hunk of camera in your face. But if he truly was recording, and I totally think he was, I'm so in his home movies. He walked right past my wife and I was just frozen. I could not believe that he had just walked right past me. So he goes down with the rest of his family to their table, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, what do I do? The worst thing that he can do is turn me away, say no. But if I catch him before he starts to eat, I'm not really interrupting him during his meal, right? Because that's my logical thinking. Oh, and I also have to add that at the time, since I had to go to work immediately after, at the time we actually had Eric Clapton t-shirts at Hard Rock. And so I figured, don't wear a Beatles shirt, don't wear a Wings shirt, wear my Eric Clapton shirt to be like, oh, I know that guy on your shirt. Me trying to, play it smart. Didn't work. So they all sit down, and my friend and my wife kind of are just like, you know what, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. You can't wonder what if. And so, like I said before, Paul's table was near the restroom. So I get up and I find myself walking over there, and it's kind of one of those things where you're having an out-of-body experience. It's not really you doing this. And so I see him start to sit down, and I book it for the bathroom. I made that sharp fork over to the restroom, and I start splashing cold water on my face. And then I was like, okay, just do it. And this is where the pad and paper come out. So I'm going to draw you a little diagram of kind of what happened. I feel like I'm a TV sportscaster here. So you've got who I think was Paul's brother-in-law sitting over here at the head of the table. Then you have who I assume is the sister-in-law over here. Then we have Paul right over here. Then you've got Nancy, the rest of the family, and over here is Beatrice McCartney. I couldn't get over that. So imagine the bathroom is right off here, right by the table. There's a little divider right over here. So I come around, I go right over here, and Paul's brother-in-law just basically turns around and says, And I went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And ladies and gentlemen, that is my personal Paul McCartney story. I think about that day all the time, and I'm wondering, what could I have really done different? But the truth is, I really couldn't have done anything else. I guess I had a lot of courage to go up to the table in the first place. But I can say I did it. And I can say that I was a couple of feet away from Paul. And if the McCartney, family is watching, by chance, I doubt it. I'm sorry that I'm such a weirdo. But they probably don't remember this incident anyway. I know that they were celebrating a graduation and that I was kind of intruding on a family moment, and I didn't mean to, but if you guys knew anything about me, you know how much that meant to me. Alright, Beatle people, there you have it. My McCartney story. For more videos, please subscribe to my channel. I try and put out new videos as much as possible. If you want to talk about more Beatles stuff, follow me on Twitter or like my Facebook fan page. And like I always say, my friends, peace and love. See ya.